You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Good morning. My name is George Haggerty, and before I call this meeting to order, I will note for the record that I will serve as the acting chair for today's meeting. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York Transportation Development Corporation for Thursday, October 5th, 2023. I'd like to note for the record that this meeting is being webcast and that we welcome public comment on the items on our agenda. I will also note for the record that the public has been given the opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments to nytdc@esd.ny.gov by 12 p.m. yesterday. And no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items, and we do not have any members of the public here today to provide comment. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to today's agenda items. If so, please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. We will then be sure that you may recuse yourself from any discussion or vote with regard to the item. Hearing none, I would now like to ask Miyoko Okubo to present the first item on today's agenda relating to the appointment of an officer. Miyoko, when you're ready, please begin.
Good morning, and thank you. The officer position of Assistant Corporate Secretary of the corporation is currently vacant. As a matter of corporate housekeeping and to ensure the corporation has a complement of officers at any given time who can execute required documentation on corporation's behalf, it is recommended that Courtney He would be appointed to the corporation as Assistant Corporate Secretary. Thank you.
Okay. We do not have any comments from the public with regard to this item. Are there any questions or comments from the directors with regard to the item? I will now entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. I would now like to ask Matthew Bray to present the final item on today's agenda, a request for, among other things, authorization to perform certain acts in connection with the sale and delivery of the New York Transportation Development Corporation's Special Facilities Revenue Bonds, Series 2023, to finance certain costs of the LaGuardia Airport Terminal's C&D redevelopment project. Matthew, when you're ready, please begin.
Thank you, and good morning. Today, the board is asked to approve the operative provisions, sale terms, bond purchase agreement, related documents, and related actions in connection with the sale and delivery of New York Transportation Development Corporation, or the corporation, Special Facilities Revenue Bonds, Series 2023, Delta Airlines, Inc., LaGuardia Airport Terminal C&D redevelopment project, referred to as the bonds, issued for the benefit of Delta Airlines, Inc., or the borrower, in the approximate amount of $900 million. The borrower has requested the corporation issue the bonds to finance a portion of the costs of a construction project, including demolition of substantially all the previous Terminal C&D, the prior terminal facilities at LaGuardia Airport. The design and construction of new terminal facilities at LaGuardia Airport that have been, or upon completion, will be leased to the borrower under the lease agreement, and the design and construction of certain other facilities that will not be leased to the borrower. 2, to pay interest on the bonds, and 3, pay certain costs of issuance related to the bonds. Proceeds of the bonds will be loaned to the borrower. LaGuardia Airport, including the construction project, is owned by the City of New York and is leased by the city to the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. The Port Authority and the borrower have entered into an amended and restated agreement of lease, pursuant to which, among other things, the borrower is obligated to operate and manage the prior terminal facilities until they're demolished and/or replaced with the new terminal facilities, design and construct the construction project, and operate and maintain the new terminal facilities. The borrower will operate the new terminal facilities and related facilities falling under the lease agreement until termination, which, in the absence of certain early termination events, will occur on December 30th, 2050. The construction project is expected to be completed by the end of 2024. The bonds will be issued and secured under an indenture and will be special limited obligations of the corporation, payable from certain payments to be made by the borrower to the corporation under the building loan agreement and a project loan agreement, and the promissory notes of the borrower, and from an unconditional guarantee from the borrower to the trustee. The guarantee will unconditionally guarantee to the trustee, for the benefit of the owners of all bonds, payment of principal, redemption price, and purchase price of, and interest on the bonds when and as due and payable. As security for payment of the borrower's obligations, the borrower has granted to the corporation and the trustee leasehold mortgages on the borrower's leasehold interest under the lease agreement, pursuant to a building loan leasehold mortgage, assignment of leases, security agreement, and fixture filing, and a project loan leasehold mortgage, assignment of leases, security agreement, and fixture filing. The prior terminal facilities and new terminal facilities will constitute the premises under the lease agreement and will be subject to the lien of the leasehold mortgages. The portions of the construction project relating to the off-premises facilities will not be part of the premises under the lease agreement and will not be subject to the lien of the leasehold mortgages. The bonds will be further secured by certain monies and securities held by a trustee for the bonds under the indenture. Pursuant to assignments of leasehold mortgages, the corporation has assigned its interests in the leasehold mortgages to the trustee for the benefit of the holders of the bonds, except for certain reserved rights. Pursuant to the assignment agreement building and the assignment agreement project, the corporation has assigned its right, title, and interest under the loan agreements, except for certain reserved rights, and the Series 2023 notes to the trustee to provide security for the bonds. The bonds are special limited revenue obligations of the corporation and are not payable from or secured by any property of the corporation other than the trust estate pledged under the indenture. The bonds are not a debt of the state of New York or the state, the New York Job Development Authority, JDA, the New York State Urban Development Corporation doing business as Empire State Development, or ESD, or any other local development corporation, agency, or authority of the state, and none of these entities shall be liable on the bonds. As is customary in a conduit financing, the rights and responsibilities of the corporation are limited under the indenture and other financing documents. The borrower has agreed to indemnify the corporation, the state, JDA, and ESD against certain liabilities or to contribute to any payments required to be made by the corporation relating to such liabilities, including liabilities under federal securities laws. As part of the transaction, the corporation will also enter into a bond purchase agreement for the initial underwriting of the bonds. The corporation is being asked to delegate authority to its officers to approve the maturities, prices, yields, and other terms of the bonds. The bonds are expected to be issued as multimodal bonds and will initially bear interest at a long-term interest rate during the initial long-term interest rate period. The bonds may be subject to mandatory tender for purchase in whole or in part at the option of the borrower and remarketed in a different interest rate mode permitted by the indenture. In accordance with the attached resolution, you are hereby requested to, 1, approve the terms and authorize the sale of the bonds on a negotiated basis. 2, confirm the appointment of certain professionals. 3, approve the form and content of the official statement and various other documents in connection with the sale and delivery of the bonds. And 4, authorize certain officers and employees of the corporation to take all actions deemed necessary to accomplish the final sale and delivery of the bonds. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
We do not have any comments from the public with regard to this item. Are there any questions or comments from the directors with regard to this item? I will now entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. The motion carries. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, everyone, for your participation in today's meeting. We're done. Thank you.
Thank you.